Welcome back to another episode of Better Than I Found It, the podcast all things college golf. You're listening to Mike McGraw, the men's golf coach at Baylor University. I know I say it often on this podcast, but I truly believe the last 10 years or so have seen the greatest influx of quality young coaches in college golf history. And today's guest is a shining example of that. J.D. Fletcher, now entering his fourth year as the head coach at Miami of Ohio, is only 28 years old and is doing a terrific job already. He is consistently one of the most prepared coaches I've seen, and his Red Hawks have seen a very steady uptick in their performance each year he has been the head coach. Admittedly an old soul, JD is mature well beyond his years, and I know you'll enjoy hearing about his coaching journey thus far. Okay, Better Than I Found It listeners, join me in welcoming Miami of Ohio head coach JD Fletcher to the podcast today. JD, really appreciate you taking time here in August as we're getting ready for school. You know, it's a busy schedule, even though we haven't started this season, but thanks for taking the time to join me.
Of course, Mike, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah. I've literally on this podcast, I don't know how many coaches I've had on here so far. I know that I've had them from all divisions, all levels, head coaches, assistant coaches, retired coaches. And so you fit in sort of that category of young head coaches, which there haven't been that many, but there's been a few. I'm still looking to get Jay Mosley, who was 24 years old when he became the head coach at Kennesaw State. I think his is a great story too, but yours is as well. And it's like, I still consider you a very young coach. How old are you right now?
I'm 28.
Yeah, I still consider you.
I'm turning 28 in August.
Okay, a very young head coach. But what's crazy is you're entering your fourth season at Miami. That's got to be hard for you to believe, I bet.
100%. I feel like I just got there yesterday. I just signed a 3-year extension over the summer, so excited to keep moving. And I'm actually running a 100-player alumni outing on Monday up in my old home club in Dublin. So a bunch of energy and passion around the program right now. I just want to keep the momentum going with fundraising and our play right now. So
those are all players that played at Miami?
I would say probably 20 to 30. And then we have some alums, friends of the program, family, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Well, that'll be a great event. Where are you playing that?
Country Club in Muirfield Village.
Oh, wow. Nice.
I actually brought it to Columbus just because a lot of our alums are centered in Columbus. And I'm actually flying out to Minneapolis right after to go. We got 2 guys in the USAM this week. So really excited to go watch those boys this week as well.
That's great. Have you ever been to Hazeltine?
I have not. I played Justin's event at Windsong, but I haven't had the chance to get out to Hazeltine, so I'm excited to see it.
Are you guys playing Windsong this fall?
No, we're like an every other year thing. Depends if Justin's mad at me or not.
All right. Well, Hazeltine was probably one of the more controversial golf courses in the history of the U.S. Open when it first hosted in 1970. It was the first European winner, Tony Jacklin, in about 50 years. He was a wire-to-wire winner, but the runner-up, Dave Hill, did not have very many nice things to say about the golf course.
Yeah.
And so I had seen that on TV and watched it. And I mean, Lee Trevino, Arnold Palmer, and Jack Nicklaus all shot between 78 and 80 that day. So it was the first day. It was a tough golf course. And so when I was an assistant coach at Oklahoma State, we went there in 1999 for the NCAA championship, and I didn't know what to expect. But I do remember the third hole was a par 5 dogleg left, and the rough was just brutal that week for a NCAA championship. It was crazy. And it was a physical impossibility to hit the third green in regulation if you missed the fairway off the tee. Because you could only advance the ball. It was a 600 and some odd yard par 5 kind of uphill second shot. And if you missed the fairway, you were just lashing it straight back out to the fairway. And so you would have 350 or 400 yards left to the green. And so if you missed the fairway, you were for sure not going to hit that green in regulation. And the rest of the course wasn't quite as intimidating, but that third hole, I remember thinking, I'm so glad I don't have to play this hole. But I know you'll enjoy watching a couple of your team members. I've got one young man up there, Davis Ovard, really excited for him. And it's that's a great experience to go. So when do you fly out? Tomorrow?
Yeah, so I'll literally run a 100-player outing. I
Mhm.
don't think I can do the dinner closing remarks. I think my assistant's gonna have to do that, and then I'm just gonna head out there at
Okay,
like 8:30. Yeah. So
perfect. Well, good luck. Have a great week out there. But you know, we talk about it. You're at University or Miami of Ohio, and that's where you played college golf. So talk about the pride of
yeah.
coaching. I talk to Alan Bratton about it every once in a while, and you know, there's other coaches who are coaching at their alma mater. It's a great feeling. Talk about that.
Yeah, so I mean, Miami's given me so much in my life. I met my wife there. We're Miami mergers. She ran track. We got married at the chapel there on campus, on Western campus. So definitely wake up with a different energy and passion every single day for the program. Um, our AD is really big in saying like we get to do our job and we're not entitled or there's no like it's a privilege and we get to do this every day. We're easily replaceable, and I try to remind myself of that all the time. Pinch myself a little bit and just say, hey, like you're the head coach of Miami and we got to do a really good job here. And there's definitely more pressure, it feels like, because I know so many of the alums, and you just want to make sure you're doing a really, really good job. And you want to make sure there's no table left unturned, and just making sure every single day we're out recruiting people, we're out fundraising people. Our schedule's amazing. Our practice plans are amazing. Strength conditioning's really good. Um, and just, yeah, I literally work every single day of my life on it since I've taken the job. And I don't think I'm ever going to stop doing that. So it's almost an addiction in a way. I just want to make it the best we possibly can.
Well, your enthusiasm is coming through in this interview for sure. I think it's one of the great. I always feel gratitude is a great human quality. I mention that often on this podcast, and you obviously are grateful for the opportunity. But the fact that you are so excited to come to work every day. I'm 64. I still feel that way. I get to the office before anybody else every single day, and I don't think that will change. And when it does change, I need to do something else. So keep your enthusiasm. I know your players will feed off of that. I know that donors, alums, different people will feed off that. But that's another thing of the enthusiasm is when you're speaking to a recruit. I mean, you get to speak to what that university, that golf program, that experience did for you as a human being. Talk about that because I've got to think that's an advantage in recruiting.
Yeah, of course. I think our Farmer School of Business, first of all, I mean, really uh, teaches you professionalism, how to do a presentation, how to conduct yourself. My coach, Zach Zedrick in particular, did a really good job of getting us in front of donors as student athletes and alums. So was able to kind of cultivate those relationships as a student athlete. And now I'm talking to those same people as a coach. So that's pretty cool. And just really turning you into a man, I think I mean, because Miami really does develop you as a human being first. And I think that's massive. And then, geez, half the groomsmen in my wedding were Miami golfers. I mean, almost all the bridesmaids from my wife were Miami track. So, I mean, the people are amazing there. It's a family, it's a small community, and it definitely has paid dividends for everything.
Bet you like Oxford too.
Yes, love Oxford, a little college town. No traffic, really nice in the summers and winters, and it's a great simple life.
That's great, great. Well, you
Yeah.
know, let's talk about before Oxford though, before you got to Miami, like your competitive background, how you got started in the game, all of that, and then eventually how Zach Zedrick got you to Miami.
Yeah, of course. So I was fortunate and blessed enough to grow up in Dublin, Ohio. We lived on hole number 11 at Muirfield Village
Hmm.
growing up. So that was, I was just so blessed and I really took advantage of that opportunity. My parents weren't very pushy in any of my sports, which I thought this was a really good parent tactic by them, but they really just left it all up to me. So it was all in my hands in terms of my work ethic and everything like that. But grew up at Country Club Muirfield Village, so the sister course to Muirfield. At 14 years of age, I was caddying over at Muirfield Village, then riding my bike over to TCC to practice, just kind of going back and forth every single day. And then high school, I went to Dublin Jerome. I mean, we graduate anywhere from 2 to 3 Division I players a year. And then I think I got really good at golf at a young age because I was surrounded by Division I talent all the time and played with people that were better than me. So you might know some of these names: Chad Merzbacher, Thomas Dunn played at Tennessee, Jared and Chad Howard played at Cincinnati, Aaron Seekman played at Xavier, Mark McDonald ended up playing at Miami. So those were guys that I got to play with, and I was in sixth grade, and they were in high school. And like I mean, being around them every single day, seeing their mannerisms, seeing their practice, how they play, all that kind of stuff is really what made me a really good player at a super young age. And then also my competitiveness really came from hockey. Like I was a really good hockey player, played travel hockey at like the highest level possible. So super competitive. Then my dad and I kind of just did a math equation of there's 300 Division I golf schools and 67 Division I hockey schools. So we're probably gonna have a better shot at playing Division I golf. And then ultimately getting to Miami, I went to Miami hockey camp as a middle schooler, fell in love with the campus and the university, and wrote Zach Cedric a handwritten letter in eighth grade, which is funny. I actually found it in his office on my first week of the job, which was awesome. Wrote Zach a handwritten letter in eighth grade. My coach at the time was Brad Sparling. He had moved.
Brad.
Yeah. So he moved to Columbus area, started doing recruiting for kids. I was one of his first clients actually in Dublin. Geez, that was probably 2009, 2010. And he really helped me navigate the entire college recruiting process. And I kind of told Brad, hey, look, Brad, like, I just want to go to Miami. Like, this is where I want to be. And he helped me kind of through that entire process, which was great. Ended up taking an official visit junior year, committed on that official visit. Zach took me to a hockey game. He really did his research, understood what I liked and everything like that. So it was just a perfect fit. And that was kind of history from there.
That's great. Brad was also a college golf coach. So when he got into that position of teaching, but also counseling kids about the college experience, he knew what he was talking about. So that's great. Well, Zach is somebody that I met when he was an assistant coach at Wichita State for Greer Jones, who is one of the sneaky greatest college golf coaches ever. And Zach kind of followed me around like a little puppy dog. It was crazy. I was at Oklahoma State at the time. He was a young assistant coach working for Greer, and I would always defer to Greer. I would say, he's smarter than I am. He knows what he's talking about. He was a great player, but I noticed Zach was very, very intentional about everything he did. I know he was a great fundraiser. I know that he was a great recruiter. I know he's doing a great job at Notre Dame right now, but tell me about his coaching style. You didn't coach with him, but you played for him. But his coaching style, anything that has influenced your coaching style, and I want to talk to you about also making it your own, the program at Miami, because Zach had put his stamp on it. There's no doubt about it. Had done a great job, and coached some guys that are playing pro golf right now as well. But talk about his influence on your coaching, if there was one.
Yeah, of course. Zach did a lot for Miami golf, especially in 2018, endowing our scholarships. So we're not going anywhere, which is great. And that's all because of him and his relationships he made over the decade time he was there at Miami. So, but yeah, Zach and I definitely were very close when I was a student athlete, just because I wanted to get into coaching. I kind of told him that probably sophomore, junior year. We had a lot of hard conversations together. I think some of the things that I've definitely taken away from him is his militant style, emphasizing every day is so important, his organization, and kind of how, he taught me how to sat down and block out each hour of the day, all that kind of stuff. He has an insane work ethic. I mean, we would walk into the weight room at 6:30 a.m. and he would come up the stairs in a drenched shirt just after a workout. And I do that same thing now with my team. And I think that says a lot to the players about, hey, our coach is in here before us and he's doing the same stuff we're doing. And then I think the other big thing is too, the work you do at home and the preparation needs to be done at home. And then when you get to the tournament, like we're just having fun and we're out here trying to win golf tournaments. And the other big thing is too, he would always talk about kind of what we do on November 1st is going to affect what we do at the end of April on the MAC championship, and really emphasizing stacking days. Every day is so important. That was a huge thing as well too. And then kind of my own spin that I've done with our program is I've gone away pretty much almost all the way with like kind of team practices. And we do a lot more playing with a scorecard in our hand. We do a lot more personalized plans, just based off of stats we use from Decade. I just think at the end of the day, golf's a really individual sport. And I want to kind of simulate what we do on the road, which is a scorecard in your hand and you're constantly got to put a score up. So those are kind of the things that I've done differently. But I love Zach as a coach. He's kind of made me the man I am today, and definitely have taken a lot of his coaching habits to what we're currently doing with our program.
I love hearing that because I know I took a lot from Mike Holder, tons.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have the career I've had without his influence, but he also did a lot of things I would never do as a coach. And I tried not to do it as a coach at Oklahoma State when I became the head coach. I'll never forget one of the most enjoyable letters I ever got from a donor. Was from a guy from Missouri, and he was a big OSU golf fan. He came to games. He was a donor. He did all that. But he had just played in our pro-am, probably my third or fourth year as head coach, third year probably. And he wrote a letter that basically said, "Congratulations. It's obvious to me and everybody else that played in that pro-am that this isn't Mike Holder's program, it's yours." Meaning, and it was truly everybody's program. It was every donor, every alum, every player, every letterman. That's who owned the program, the university, not me. But my stamp, my personality was on the program. I didn't try to just copy what Mike Holder had done. And I was very intentional about that because I couldn't have faked that one. I wasn't going to be like Mike Holder. I had some similarities, but I was not going to be like him. So how have you been able to truly make it your own, other than these few things you've mentioned that you like to do? Is it your program? Is it got your stamp on it right now after 3.5 years?
100%. I think it's our program, my program, especially with the recruiting we've done and all the guys that have been playing or been my guys. We've really been focusing on Ohio and international for recruiting, and it's been paying dividends. I think we've gotten like a lot better since my first season, 21-22 season. I mean, we were 38, 117, and 8 or something my first year. And this past year we were 85, well above 500, and doing much, much better. And I just want our program to be known for something. So like when our guys come here, that they want them to know that they have a really good shot of going to the next level. We just had Danny Fisher playing the Korn Ferry Tour 2 weeks ago. Monday qualified, shot 66, bogey free. Got Jackie Ebbs is playing, Charlie Nikitas is playing, Brian Orr's still playing. So I really want Miami to be known for a place where you can still go play professional golf. That's huge. I want to keep that going. Then I'm really trying to figure out what our identity is as a team. And this year, we're going to really be good at something. And that one thing to me right now is going to be wedges. I really want to create a wedge plan where guys are coming out and getting that done first thing when they get to the golf course, and they can't do anything else until they get that done. I want us to be known as like, hey, you come here, you come to Miami for play for Coach Fletch, like you're going to get really good at this one or two things. So that's really important to me.
Yeah, by the way, who are the two kids playing in the USAM this week? What are their names?
Yeah, Brett Podobinski and Matt Mattioli.
Okay. Well, you got to be excited about that. I don't think Miami's had two at the USM in a while, right?
Yeah, I think the last two was the Riviera with Cam Solomon and Brian Orr. I think that those two played at that. I could be wrong. I think I'm right, though. But yeah.
All right, before you were hired, and actually Zach, I know, had a lot to do. He was on the committee that probably helped, so I know his good words about you probably helped, didn't hurt your situation. But before you got there, you were coaching elsewhere. I mean, very young age. You had two positions before you got to Miami. One was as an assistant coach at Carnegie Mellon, and the other was a head coach at Earlham. So talk about how those two experiences prepared you for this D1 level coaching.
Yeah. So Carnegie Mellon was amazing. Before COVID hit, we had both our programs, men and women, inside the top 5. And I really thought we were going to get a national championship that year. So that sucked. We were all crying in the parking lot at the match play event at Hammock Beach. And that was brutal to do. But I also had an amazing boss there, Dan Rogers. He just won the national championship, got Division III Coach of the Year. So it was amazing to learn from him. And Carnegie Mellon is just such an incredible institution, academic institution. And the kids were so bright, and they were also amazing at golf. And then and I also got experience there running the men's team, because most D3 events, you bring both the men and women's team to the event. So Dan would go with the ladies, I would go with the boys. So I actually got, in my opinion, head coaching experience at the age of 23, which was pretty invaluable, and awesome to kind of get to do that. And we shot 31 under at Savannah Harbor, like through Division III school. So we had some really, really good talent there, a bunch of All-Americans. And then ultimately, I wanted to try to get a little closer to home, just with my wife's family being in Southwest Ohio. And Earlham College had an opening for it was a men's coach, but I was quickly elevated to director of golf, overseeing both programs. And that job was really scary to take because they had 4 boys rostered on the roster, and the upcoming year there was going to be 0 players on the roster. So I went and recruited 9 freshmen.
Well, you needed to do that because you can't coach air.
Exactly.
You gotta have humans.
Yeah, I learned so much at both those stops, and they were both super valuable to ultimately getting, quote unquote, my dream job. I didn't think I would get this job at 25. I thought it'd be more like 40. But came to Miami with a 7-10 page vision guide of what I was going to do, how we were going to fundraise, how we were going to recruit, all that stuff. And the 2 stops before that really, really prepared me. Earlham's job was really uncomfortable. I was really uncomfortable. I mean, no players coming back the next year, no operating budget, had to fundraise, all this stuff. So I was really thrown in the fire and able to figure stuff out, which is ultimately how you grow as a human. So it was great.
Well, the good thing about having to do that is you're figuring it out on the fly, and that skill is going to help you when you have to figure out something on the fly at Miami one day, something you've never been presented with. You'll probably have an ability to get through that. I know it's really, really important. I mean, remember when Mike Holder was still the men's coach at Oklahoma State, I was his assistant. He said, "Would you like to be the women's coach? We've got an opening." And I thought, I haven't been a head coach since I was at Evan North High School. So I think I'd been there 7 years working for Mike as an assistant. And I thought, that sounds pretty good. I'd love to do that. And that's a whole chapter in my book, Coaching Women's Golf. I wasn't very good at it, but I could have been. But but the thing about it was, I asked him, I said, "Okay, I need to start looking for an assistant coach." And Mike took one look at me and says, "You're not going to get an assistant coach your first year." And I said, "What are you talking about? This is a Division I program, Mike." And he said, "Well, you've got a lot to learn about coaching women's golf. You'll learn a whole lot more if you're having to do it on your own." And
100%.
He was so right. I'm so glad I did that. And I did not have an assistant. So the only year I coached women's golf, I had no assistant. I had a bunch of girls that were teaching me about how to coach women. That was a fact, but I had no assistant coach. And anyway, so I think you probably had a great experience at Earlham that probably is aiding you now. But what's your biggest surprise that you've experienced? Like, oh my gosh, wasn't ready for that one. What's that?
Yeah. Truly realizing how much goes into running a high-level Division I golf program, especially at the mid-major level. We don't have like all the abundant resources. So I mean, sometimes there's days where coaching might not be at the highest priority. So I mean, I'm doing our fundraising, I'm doing our recruiting, I'm doing our social media, I'm doing our alumni newsletter. I got lunch with donors, I got meetings, all this stuff. So it's just so much goes into it. You have the day-to-day stuff, practice, what like kids' class schedules. How are you organizing? Like this group needs to practice here because they have class conflicts, everything like that. Strength and conditioning, scheduling, all that stuff. So a ton goes into it. The other big surprise too, from just going from Division III to Division I, competition days almost go double. The travel, I mean, we go all the way to Hawaii. We're going to Canada this fall, which we can get into that later with our schedule. But travel's way up, recruiting's way up, it's way more intense. And I mean, I want to take this program and to regionals and not have to win the MAC championship. So I mean, I'm working every single day on it, and the workload's insane. And I think sometimes where the NCAA landscape's headed, I mean, I think there could be days where it could be more beneficial for me to go have lunch with a donor, and I might have to be a couple minutes late to practice. Just where everything's going, you can't have enough money right now. So that's way more on the priority list for me in the current moment. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that landscape of collegiate athletics
Yeah,
here in
yeah.
just a little bit. I've been asking a lot of coaches that, not maybe a focus of the interview, but just talking about it. It's like, man, we've got more challenges than we had before. How are we navigating that, or what are some creative things you're doing? I'll get to that. But we talked a minute ago about your age, and by the way, I don't think that's a disadvantage. Being 28 is really cool. I remember it, but Ronald Reagan was in the White House, so it's been a while. Um, Young coaches often struggle with the lack of age separation. I talked to Mike Holder about this. He got the head coaching job at Oklahoma State at age 24, and four of the kids on the team basically he'd played with. He struggled with it. He wasn't great at it because he didn't know. All he knew was hard work, and so
Yeah.
he just kind of set a schedule. We're going to qualify these 3 days, and you're hitting balls 6 or 8 hours a day the other days, and just deal with it. And he was practicing himself, so he kind of softened that age difference, meaning I was just one in there grinding with them. How have you been able to do it? What are the disadvantages, advantages, and what are the pitfalls you see of being so close to their age?
Yeah, of course. My first year, I was really fortunate. Jack Hersig and Jack Martell and Jack Abner were fantastic. Those were guys I played with. We were able to have hard, vulnerable conversations, which was great. And I ultimately got to get Jack Ebner, convinced him to come back for his fifth COVID year, which was cool. So I got to coach Jack for 2 years. Also played with him for, I think, 1 year. So that was awesome. Now he's still playing pro golf, and I think I have a lot to do with that for him to go play pro golf because it wasn't really on his radar when he got here. Advantages. I'm newly removed from where they just were. So I've been the guy who has been at home when it sucks. I've been the guy who's been on the road when they're traveling. And being at home is awful, especially February in Oxford when you see the guys go down to Texas or go down to Florida and you're at home hitting balls in the indoor studio. So trying to keep those guys motivated, trying to keep those guys with a plan, stick to the plan, and making sure they can take advantage of their opportunity when it prevents themselves when it gets so. And then being able to relate to them at a super personal level is also huge. So talking to them about whatever, I really feel like they can come to me with anything, and that's definitely been the case. Disadvantages has just been just dealing with some parents, navigating those relationships in the recruiting process. You could have a whole podcast on that, Coach. And with our current team, our current parents right now are awesome. And then I am an old soul at heart, and I feel like I'm really mature for my age. My boss says that all the time. So to me, I haven't really, there's nothing like huge that has happened where age has been a really disadvantage for me. I'm young, motivated, energetic, enthusiastic, and I just love this place, love Miami so much. So it's been a really easy adjustment.
I love hearing that. Just one piece of advice for a young coach. Let's say a guy gets the job at 25, like you did. What would you say the most important thing you could tell him to do to make the transition easier?
Yeah, I actually wrote a couple things down for this just through my experiences. Be super consistent with your message and everything. So how you're going to do qualifying, how you're going to discipline players, all that stuff is huge. You don't want to show favoritism, any of that. You just need to be really consistent and with your delivery every single week, every single day. I think too, having a mentor that you can have access to, like Coach, you're so gracious with your time, spitting ideas off of you, and Zach also has been the same way. And I also want these guys to know, or young coaches to know, that program building takes time. Don't get frustrated or be so hard on yourself if results aren't coming right away. I really struggled with that my first year. When I got here, our best player transferred to Alabama. We were left with 7, 8 guys on the team, some off-course issues. So, it takes time, and we've seen a steady progress each season, which has been great. So make sure you're playing the long game. I also think too, playing the hardest schedule you possibly can and playing the most prestigious events you possibly can, and understanding that your schedule is your baby, and that can be one of your biggest recruiting tools. And I think that young coach getting their first head coaching job really needs to go out of their way to develop a relationship with other coaches, potentially host a home event to get reciprocity on their schedule. I think is huge as well too. But those are kind of the key takeaways I would tell a young head coach getting into Division I.
Yeah, I love that. And you talked about trying to build a program. I mean, Zach had a good program that he handed off to you, but you still have to build your own program, what it's going to be like, what you're going to do, and there are things that could be improved in any program. When I left Oklahoma State, Alan Bratton had some cleaning up to do. There were some things that needed to be taken care of, even though it was a great program. But only your third season, your team finished second at the MAC championship, which was the best finish by the team since 2015. So talk about the building process in your third season to get the team. You almost qualified for postseason regionals. Had you won the MAC championship, you would have. Talk about that process of building over the first 3 years anyway.
Yeah, of course. So obviously, number one, recruiting was huge. So my vision guide I sent to Miami, I had how I was going to recruit. We were going to focus on Ohio guys that really wanted to bleed red and white, wanted to dig out of the dirt at Houston Woods at our home course. That was huge. And then I wanted to get really high level international players because at the end of the day, the top Ohio guys are going to Ohio State, Kent State, Cincinnati. Doug is doing a great job down there. So getting guys that may have not fully developed yet that are in Ohio that have a ton of speed, stuff like that. That's what we've been looking at. And kind of building up to our previous finish. We've been in the final pairing now the last 2 years. And that's something I talk to the boys all the time. Like our goal at the MAC championships is the first day, not to shoot ourselves out of it. Second day, keep moving up the leaderboard, and final day, if we want to be in the final group. That's our goal for the week. And then I also think too, our schedule with us adding Hawaii, that's no competition dates. So we've actually increased the volume of our tournament schedule a little bit. And I'm a huge proponent in competing. So I think that's helped a ton too. And we've also kind of changed our schedule in a way we're playing big fall seasons. We kind of ease into the spring and we play a big April. So that's kind of how I've structured our schedule, which I think has helped immensely. And I think we just have guys who have the right mindset. And Danny Fisher has been an unbelievable leader for us the last 2 years. So it's going to suck not have him this year. So I'm really excited to see who will take that leadership role in our team. But that's kind of how we've built over the last 3 years.
Yeah, that's really well said. And Mike Small talked to me about that. They had a strong fall schedule. He always kind of eased into the spring because of the obvious winter considerations up north, and then had a great April. And I think that's been a good model for him. But you were saying it, you don't get the best players in Ohio because they're probably going to go to Ohio State, Kent State, Cincinnati. So in Texas, I've always tried to aspire to the best players in Texas.
Yeah, we do that. We try to do that.
You aspire there, but it's a reality. You're not going to get them all the time, and neither am I. And one of the reasons that probably you have that issue and I have the issue is academically, both Miami and Baylor are strong, and they're definitely strong in the business school area for sure. But talk about that because I know that's been a challenge for me. One I accepted and one that I didn't shy away from, but academics are more important at both schools. So talk about how you do that in recruiting.
Yeah, of course. So graduating champions is our athletic mission statement. So that's athletic and academic excellence at the highest level. So when I'm talking to a kid in the recruiting process, I make sure they know how we do one thing is how we do everything. So, I mean, our boys are in study tables. Our boys send us academic reports every Sunday. We see where their grades are at. We see what they got going on the upcoming week. We make sure our professors have their missed class forms, all that good stuff, sit at the front row. We've had the highest team GPA in the male side every semester, pretty much. So the boys are really good at getting their stuff done on the road. Our tutors and academic advisors have been great as well too, working with them. But yeah, I mean, the boys have a lot of extra time management skills and stuff like that they need to be working on and discipline to get that done because the academics are very rigorous at Miami on top of our travel schedule. So, they do a good job.
Essentially, you don't shy away from it. You don't hide it. It's there. It's part of the equation.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay, good. We talked earlier about the new world, NIL, paying for grades, transfer portal, and now upcoming roster limits. I mean, it's like they've changed the collegiate model. It doesn't look the same. So without going into a deep dive on this, I mean, like really big team, how do you think you are adjusting to these new changes, you personally, and how you're going to deal with it with your program at Miami?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I haven't checked the transfer portal in like a year.
Mhm.
I think Miami golf, like if you look at our junior class right now, Podobinski, Pero, and Weber came in their freshman year. We were able to mold them into the culture we wanted them to be molded into. And they're really like reaping the benefits of that through their performance and everything. So I really want to bring in junior golfers and mold them into men and have them be great citizens when they leave Miami University and be great representatives of Miami University. And that might end up killing me in the long run. I have no idea, but I'm going to stick to that right now. I want to recruit junior golfers. I want to mold them into the men I want to mold them into. And I just think that's how we've had success. I've done the transfer thing and everything like that. It's been okay. But I much rather bring in a junior golfer, a loyal family, a loyal junior golfer that really wants to bleed red and white. I think that's huge for us.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love it. It's almost going to be a dinosaur. I mean,
I
because
know.
I know a lot of guys in this roster limits, they're going to downsize not to 9, but they're going to downsize to 7.
Yep.
And instead of recruiting a freshman for that class, whenever that happens, they're going to save 2 spots for transfers in the portal. So
Yep.
it's part of our world. I would rather do it the way you're doing it. I still don't have any transfers out. I have 2 kids that graduated and then transferred for a 5th year someplace, but so I haven't been a transfer portal guy either. It's not like been our deal. But anyway, just was interested to see how you would handle that. I know the one thing I don't like about the modern day is if a guy at Miami, Ohio, you develop one of those players into an All-American. Have you had an All-American yet?
I have not, no.
Okay, but you will. You're going to have an All-American. And unless he's a senior when he was an All-American, I mean, somebody's going to come trying to steal him from you. And I'd hate that. I hate that about what we've got going in collegiate athletics.
We've had a couple guys have some really, like Danny Fisher could have gone in the portal his 5th year, gone anywhere, honestly. He stayed. Brett Podobinski had a T4 finish at the Calusa Cup. I'm sure you know that tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then he won Mid-Pines the week before that. But guys don't want to leave here from, I don't know if, I mean, hopefully it's a little bit for me, what we're doing here with our program and Miami University as in general, but I don't worry about that. Maybe I should be worried about it more. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I often use Herb Page as an example at Kent State and how he would develop kids into All-Americans. And by the time they were seniors, they had a pretty strong team every 4 or 5 years for sure. And I hope that's still possible. I want it to be possible. I'm not a mid-major, and I'm going to ask that question in a minute about the term mid-major, but I know that it's really inspiring when a mid-major team jumps up and does what Pepperdine did a couple of years ago and some other things. So still possible. Let's make it happen. I'm always interested in what other college golf coaches see as their greatest role models as from coaches outside of golf. So who are some of your favorites and that had big impact on your coaching and why?
Of course. So I have a coach and I have a former boss that I'd like to talk about. My number one coach for sure is Nick Saban. He's demanding on his players. He brings a contagious energy to work every single day. His attention to detail and his perfectionism. He wants his athletes to be the standard he holds his athletes to. Guys want to play for him. He refuses to have any type of mediocrity. And those are the kind of qualities I want to try to bring to my program every single day. Because if we're going to do this, let's just go all in and not leave any stone unturned. So, I mean, that's my biggest guy I love to listen to.
Do you think I should have him on my podcast?
That would be incredible. That would be incredible.
I'll work on that.
So yeah, and then the one boss I wrote down here is I grew up caddying at Muirfield Village Golf Club all throughout middle school, high school, and college. Chad Baker is still the caddy master there, head of outside ops, and that place is as high level as it gets. I mean, you see a guest walking, you better be running and getting their bag. You got to be clean shaved to work every single day. If you don't, you're going to be shaving with no shaving cream with a metal razor. It taught me how to talk with millionaires, how to build relationships, how to act professional, how to be on time, all those little things. I really think Muirfield Village has really helped me instill some amazing qualities I can give to my boys right now. Like we clean shave to tournaments. We're always on time. That's a huge thing in our program as well too. And I think just being around high performing operation like that has really helped me become the coach I am today.
Very good. Very good. I would say that probably came initially from Jack Nicklaus.
100%.
Probably what he saw at Augusta National, and he tried to, even though he had his own personality on Muirfield Village, I know a lot of those things were the same. And Jack Nicklaus is still my favorite golfer as a young boy. He was the hero of mine when I was growing up, and I know that you got that through Chad Baker from Jack Nicklaus, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Noticed on your website, you guys have had 3 Earl Yestingsmeyer's Sportsmanship Award winners in the MAC conference, 3 in a row. Okay, yeah. So you finished second, so you're obviously a very competitive team in the MAC conference. But you've got 3 straight years, kids that are your players that have won a Sportsmanship Award. Talk about that, how your guys compete, and why that's important to you.
Yeah, of course. So a little background on that award. So Earl Yestingsmeyer was the former coach at Ball State, Mike Fleck's program right now. So awesome award, Sportsmanship Award. A lot of our other teams in our conference call us Good Guy U. We're the team guys want to play with. All of our boys develop really good relationships with all the teams we play with and everything like that. I can't take all the credit for these awards because these were some of Zach's recruits. If not, I think all of them were actually, yes. But I was just able to kind of keep what Zach had going on, which was great. I think the award shows people in the public what our program is about: integrity, respectfulness, everything like that. Ultimately, it's all things you want your program to be about as well too, which is great. So I do want to win that trophy next year again, but I also want to win the big one too.
Well, I think it's important to note they're not mutually exclusive. You can be a good person competing the right way and still be a champion. I think that's one of the things Jack Nicklaus showed in his career. I mean, he was an assassin as far as a competitor was concerned, but he always showed such respect for his opponent. And he would, when he was playing and really competing, he always deflected all the attention to his opponent. I thought he just did an amazing job of that. He competed and he was a sportsman at the highest level. There's no doubt about it. I still think you can do both. I really do. And so when I saw that you had 3 in a row, and that doesn't surprise me that Zach would have recruited kids like that either to Miami. But I think that's amazing. And Johnny Kiefer, who's playing on the PGA Tour Americas, he just graduated from Baylor, 5th year COVID guy, the whole deal. He was the only 3-time Big 12 Scholar Athlete of the Year in the history of the Big 12 in men's golf. And that said so much to me because he was a relentless competitor and he tried so hard to be a great player, but academics were important to him as well. And he took pride in winning that award. And I'm so thankful. So that's really cool. You've had 3 in a row. Name the 3 guys who won that award for you.
Yeah. So Cam Solomon, Jack Hersig, Jack Ebner, and Danny Fisher.
Okay.
Yep. Wonderful. So awesome.
I mentioned this earlier, the term mid-major, because we talk about mid-majors, we talk about Power 5 or now Power 4 conference.
Yeah.
Does that term bother you? If so, why? And if so, how have you used it as a positive chip on your shoulder?
Yeah. So, yes, we are mid-major. We don't have the flashiest Mercedes-Benz. We don't fly private. But I don't think there's anything mid-major about our schedule, our guys' rankings, all of that stuff. And we definitely do use it as a chip on our shoulder. Like when we went to the Calusa Cup and we took down Nebraska, Iowa, we got to play with Wake Forest the final round. We were 6-7 shots off from Georgia Tech. If we didn't implode the last hour of the tournament, we would have beaten those teams. So it's just great to know that our guys want to be on that stage, on that Power 4 stage. And we definitely use it as a chip on our shoulder. And but I don't think there's anything mid-major about our program and what Miami University has to offer. And I think they're going to keep seeing our name more and more.
Good. Well, I occasionally use the term mid-major, and I just it's just college golf. It's
Yeah.
just collegiate athletics. It's just but you're not teaching any better or worse things than I'm teaching at Baylor. We're
Look
not
at
inventing.
Amos and East Tennessee State. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's just so many things. And I mentioned Herb Page earlier. Definitely,
Yep.
that was a mid-major up north, just like you, and was able to be competitive. I think you can do it. I don't have any doubt. But I just wondered how a mid-major coach reacts to the term mid-major because it's
I hate it.
I bet you do. I wouldn't love it either. And and honestly, even though I'm still part of a Power Five conference school, we're a small private institution,
Yeah.
not a big school at all. And there's some disadvantages, but there's some huge advantages to being in that spot. So I know you've found the advantages part at being at Miami. Um, Most important piece of advice or wisdom you've ever received from another coach, period. That's really stuck with you. That's really I always ask this question of a coach because I get some good nugget from this every single time.
Yeah, of course. So I have to say something that's not from a coach. This is from my grandpa. He worked in real estate. He said, JD, if you really want to separate yourself when you get into the workforce, you need to work 7 days a week. So I really make sure I'm doing something for the program every single day. And I think from a coach specifically, it was actually from one of your podcasts with Mike Small. He said, if you come to Illinois and you end your career and you either end up averaging 75 or being an All-American, that ultimately was up to you. And it's up to the players to take ownership, to use their resources, everything like that, to kind of get to where they want to get to. So I really tell my boys that all the time. Like, you need to take ownership. A lot of this is on you. I'm here to give you a blueprint, and you need to go about that blueprint how you want to. I think that's huge because I think a lot of the kids nowadays are a little soft, a little entitled. I think everything should come to them really fast. So that was a really good nugget I've got from Mike Small from one of your podcasts.
Yeah, that was last December when I interviewed Mike, and I'd been wanting to do that interview for a long time. I used to think of Mike Small as a really incredible coach of a Northern team, but I don't think that way anymore. He's just been an incredible coach that's done a great job of recruiting kids that will respond to his coaching, and he's been incredibly successful almost every single year at the national championship. So I used to think of it as being a Northern school doing well, but it's not. It's just a guy who's created an incredible program. And yes, I got that same nugget out of that podcast. When I was doing the interview with him, I thought that was great. So thank you. Um, we're less than a month away from the fall season. One of the things I was going to ask you just about your fall schedule, and then I know you host tournaments. Talk about the reason you host tournaments and how you benefit from that.
Yeah, of course. I'll just give you a quick for our fall slate. We start up at the UP of Michigan, the Island Resort Intercollegiate, hosted by South Dakota State. Fun way to kick off the year. We played there the last 2 years. Parker does a really good job with the course setup. I think last year Michigan, Illinois State shot like 30, 31 under. So it's a fun way to start the year. A lot of birdies, everything like that. Then we're going to the Canadian Collegiate, hosted by Coach Leon, Coach Mills, Penn State, Kent State, and Canadian Golf Association is also going to have a big part of that as well. Overenberg Golf Club is one of the more premier clubs in the Ontario, Canada area. So really excited to see all that goes. I think us in Canada, only two mid-major programs playing in the whole field. So that'll be really good for the boys. Then we go to Purdue and we'll get to see the new campus renovations. We did not get to see it at regionals because we weren't there. Then we go to Pittsburgh Field Club, where I'll be hosting our Red Hawk Intercollegiate. I worked at the field club as well too. I was at Carnegie Mellon, so it's been great to develop relationships with the board there and kept those relationships going. So really excited to host there. And then we go to NCR South, hosted by Dayton, which is another top 100 great golf course. Then we end the year out at the Kapolei Invitational, hosted by Scott Simpson in Hawaii, which we saw you guys there last year. And hopefully the boys can shoot 60 under or we will finish last.
Yeah. You know, Scott did a great job with that tournament, and the weather was absolutely flawless.
Yep. Our boys were
Golfers did not
used to
have a
that.
lot of defense.
Yeah.
It did not. So that's a
Then
great
going
schedule.
back
Why do you host events?
Yeah, so hosting is a lot of fun. I love getting different coaches there and engaging with coaches, and helps us with reciprocity for our schedule as well too. We also host an individual event, so those have been popping up a lot more recently with the bigger rosters. They could be going back down again now after these roster limits come through, but I still think there could be a market for them. When I was a player, I was always the guy on outside looking in. And I think it's really made our team a lot better in terms of development, providing these individual opportunities. I think the kids are 100% entitled to them if they've been working really hard. And if you're on a good team, there's just they haven't been able to crack the lineup. And I think ultimately getting a competitive opportunity is going to make them better as a player, no matter what it is. So we host a little individual event. Cincinnati, Indiana, we've got some good schools coming. So that'll be great. And I think any competition's competition. So it'll be great. Doug Martin loves the course we do that. So that's always good. And it's going to be good.
Yeah. Talk about a guy who's been doing a great job with coaching.
Doug's great.
Doug's building a great program.
One of my big mentors for sure.
Yeah, he's a good one. So you have been an assistant coach. You've been a head coach at a small school. Now you're a head coach at Miami. But you've now hired assistant coaches, a couple. So tell me about them. I know that wasn't the case when you first got there.
Yeah, of course. So Charlie Winkler will be going into his second season. He's definitely called the vibe coach on our team with the boys, brings a positive vibe every single day. He does a great job. He's also a Miami alum, so he's been great with recruits and selling the story there and all that good stuff. And then we recently just added Bruce Cunningham, which is unbelievable. And I'm so excited to be working with Bruce. He's a big mentor of mine, great friend. He really helped me in my first year at Miami as well too. And he knows what it takes to win a MAC championship. And I'm also really excited to see what he can bring to the table for our Canada and international recruiting as well too. So really excited to bring he's got 30 years of experience, which I do not. So every single year we start a new season, I really want to make sure I'm doing something different and new that's going to make our program better. So like this year we're getting a new van, we got a new assistant coach, and then next year hopefully we have NIL opportunities or stuff like that. I just want every single year want to make sure we're doing something better, never getting complacent. And I think Bruce is going to bring a great presence to our team. So we're really excited.
I love your enthusiasm. I might come to work for you. You got an extra spot?
I don't know, Coach. I don't think I'll be trying to just keep up with you.
Yeah, I don't know. I love enthusiasm. I love, as you get to be my age, that's the real challenge because you're a little more jaded. You've had more disappointments than a young 28-year-old coach. You tend to see the darker side. Unfortunately, it's just human nature, and I don't want to be that way. So I love it when I'm talking to a young head coach or just a young coach, period, who has a lot of enthusiasm and loves what he's doing, because I do too. And I want to continue that as long as I get to coach. And but that's why I have people like you on this podcast to hopefully inspire other coaches to want to do great things. And you mentioned in this podcast that you got a great piece of wisdom from a former podcast guest of mine. I get that all the time. And I picked up on a couple of things from you today. So I do want to thank you so much for joining me today. And I look forward to seeing you. How about at a regional? How about at a regional this year? How about that?
The boys want it. We want it. I think we got the right personnel to do it. I really do think we're going to be better this year too, even with losing Danny. I mean, we had a redshirt freshman compete in the Sunny Hannah and the Southern Am this summer. So really excited to see what we can do.
Well, you guys are going to be great. So I don't know when we'll see you next, but best of luck this fall. Play well, and I look forward to seeing you, like I said, at a regional. That'd be great.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate everything you do for the game, the profession, and you make it better for sure.
Well, I appreciate that, JD. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, we'll see you, Coach. Bye.